Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the New Bedford City Council Chamber. Thank you all for coming tonight. Today is May 11th. Joining me in the council chamber tonight are my colleagues, Council Ward 2, Stephen Martins, Council Ward 5, Kerry Winterson, Councilor at Large, Ian Abreu, Council Ward 6, Joseph Lopes, Councilor at Large, Brian Gomes, Councilor at Large, Naomi Carney, Council Ward 3, Henry Bousquet, Councilor at Large, Deborah Coelho, and Councilor of Ward 4, Dana Ribeiro. Before we begin the meeting tonight, I'd like to take a moment of silence. I would like you, please, to tonight remember in your thoughts Greater New Bedford Regional Vocational Technical High School member George Heath and the other members of the tragic violence that happened last night in our neighboring community. Good people going about their own business, tragically taken from us. I ask you to dedicate your moment of silence to them tonight. Thank you. I'll ask Councilor Martins to lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Martins. Colleagues, we have a couple of items to be read into the record tonight. Ask the clerk to do so.
Madam President, I have a letter from Councilor James Oliveira. Dear Council President Morad and honorable members of the City Council, I am writing to inform you that I will be unable to attend the special City Council meeting for the fiscal year budget of 2017 submission on Wednesday, May 11th, 2016 due to a personal obligation. Please read this letter into the record to make my colleagues, those in attendance, and the public aware of the reason for my absence. Thank you in advance for your attention to this matter. James Oliveira.
Motion to receive and place on file made by Councilor Lopes, second by Councilor Bousquet. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Colleagues, item 1 is before us.
Madam President, item 1 is a communication from Council President Morad to City Clerk Farias requesting that a special City Council meeting be called for Wednesday, May 11th, 2016 at 7 p.m. for the submittal of the FY17 City of New Bedford budget.
Motion to receive and place on file would be appropriate. Made by Councilor Martins, second by Councilor Carney. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. As is our tradition, we will break now with a short recess. I'm asking Councilor Winterson and Councilor Ribeiro to please escort the mayor into the chamber. We'll stand adjourned.
Good. No such thing.
We're back from recess.
It'll be a good time. Madam President,
Councilor Winterson.
Council, I'd like to introduce to you the Mayor of New Bedford, Massachusetts, the Honorable Jon Mitchell.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Council President Morad, honorable members of the City Council, department heads, invited guests, and residents of our great city. I am pleased to stand before you tonight to present a municipal budget for the City of New Bedford for the fiscal year 2017. This year's budget, more than the previous 4 budgets that I have proposed, is the product of a highly collaborative effort between the City Council and my administration, and I am grateful for that. Our effort, yours and mine, has been grounded in the collective recognition that our city must continue to steer itself through rough financial waters, which requires a deliberate approach by both branches of government to develop a budget that is aimed squarely at long-term stability. While budgeting is an annual exercise, budget decisions must be made with the long run in mind. Unfortunately, too many American cities, including some in this state, have forgotten this and have landed themselves in deep trouble. We in New Bedford have been living through a period of tight finances in part because of past neglect and poor decisions. There are hundreds of millions of dollars in deferred building maintenance, still more unfunded future retiree benefits, and not enough funding for our schools and for basic services. Like it or not, we've got to deal with it. What makes it harder is that in Massachusetts, cities and towns wield far less control over their finances than their counterparts in other states. Approximately 73% of this year's budget is predetermined by state mandates and regional agreements. So, taking a look at our chart, all of this, almost 3/4. So when you set aside the public safety department budgets, in orange right there, nearly 30 non-public safety departments split the remaining 13% of the entire budget. Cuts to those mostly small departments can cripple the delivery of important services but yield very little in the way of overall budget savings. That dark green slice of the pie is just way too thin to make a difference. Meanwhile, revenue to the city has not kept pace with rising costs. Unrestricted state aid has remained relatively flat, and the ongoing expansion of our local economy has not yet translated into sufficient new revenue from property taxes. So we've had to make sacrifices along the way. Over the last few years, certain city departments have been cut to the point where their ability to function is becoming compromised, and taxpayers have been imposed upon too. And city government has shrunk. Today, there are 136 fewer positions paid for out of the general fund than there were in 2009, and far fewer than there were in the early 2000s. In the long run, neither indiscriminate program cuts nor reflexive tax increases will lead to long-term financial stability. We've achieved tremendous efficiencies in city government, but efficiencies can only take us so far. If we want to keep a library in a particular neighborhood, for example, there's no getting around the fact that it has to be staffed with a librarian. You can't downsize that position away. You can't make it so efficient that you don't need a librarian anymore. And of course, not just anyone off the street can do the job. Competing with other communities for high-performing municipal employees, which is exactly what our residents expect and deserve, costs money. On the other hand, we can't continue to ask more of taxpayers and expect that the city's budget decisions won't materially affect their quality of life or the competitiveness of the city's businesses. Achieving sustainability by balancing these competing interests requires thoughtful and often difficult decisions which must be explained to the public with candor and with clarity. Now for the good news. Under the skillful guidance of our CFO, Ari Skye, and his team, New Bedford's fiscal outlook is in fact growing more stable. We have built our fund balances, implemented long-term capital planning for the first time in the city's history, and raised our bond rating higher than it's ever been. These are real accomplishments. Through thoughtful decision-making and a long-term focus in this fiscal year, neither dramatic cuts nor a spike in the tax rate will be necessary. Our city's residents can have the confidence that our approach is, in fact, making a difference. The FY 2017 budget process focused on identifying core city needs and ensuring the provision of adequate services for the residents of our city. Our priorities in developing the budget were grounded in the knowledge that the impact of an improving economy can be uneven. Many in our city continue to fight each month to make ends meet, paying the taxes, insurance, and utility bills that allow them to remain in their homes. The combination of unfunded mandates, non-discretionary expenses, and the cost of maintaining essential services have resulted in increases to the city's tax levy over the last 2 years. This year's budget restrains the growth in spending to ensure that the cost of government remains affordable, yet supports key priorities. This year's general fund budget totals some $312 million. The general fund budget benefits from a $9.1 million increase in state funding, which consists largely of additional state support for the school department. As in recent years, this year's budget has been marked by considerable restraint. New spending was limited to certain key areas, including some of which the city has very little control. First, we continue to deal with the fact that the federal SAFER grant, which originally funded 70 firefighter positions, expired in the middle of this fiscal year. Since 2012, the city has worked hard to avoid firefighter layoffs and to reduce its reliance on the SAFER grant to staff the fire department, as federal funding, as we all know, inevitably will come to an end at some point. By incrementally moving firefighters onto the city's general fund payroll, we have succeeded in maintaining public safety services and haven't laid off a single firefighter. However, it has come at considerable expense to the city. Last year, the fire department's budget increased by 18%, by far the largest of any city department, which was exacerbated by a generous arbitration award to the firefighters union that significantly increased firefighter salaries. In FY 2017, we will continue to move firefighters to the general fund, and the fire department will again see a significant and disproportionate increase to their budget. At the same time, we are pursuing a SAFER grant renewal to fund 21 positions with the intention that the general fund will support the entire department at the end of the 2-year grant cycle. All in all, the disproportionate funding of the fire department over the last 2 years, which includes millions of dollars in new equipment, repairs to existing stations, and the planned construction of a new station, represents the single most comprehensive commitment to fire protection by an administration and a city council in decades. And our residents will be better protected than ever when all of those plans are in place. Other, albeit more modest, increases in public safety are, in my view, also necessary. These included additional resources in emergency medical services, to expand ambulance services to meet demand, a measure which, by the way, should easily pay for itself through increased transport revenue. We've also proposed funding for increased enforcement in the health department to help root out the escalating problem of synthetic marijuana, as well as the funding for strategic planning in the police department as that department transitions to new leadership in the coming weeks. All of these key investments in public safety will be money well spent. The second major set of budget drivers are non-discretionary items and underfunded mandates, especially charter school obligations. The growth in the city's obligation to fund charter schools is exacerbated by the state's failure to meet its statutory obligation to partially reimburse localities' costs. As a result, the city's net obligation will increase from $9.4 million in FY16 to $10.2 million in FY17. Nowhere else in this state has government, local government, been more committed, more assertive, and more aggressive to reform its school system than here. Nobody in Boston can tell us to be more aggressive and to be more forward-thinking in that way, but we need to let them know that we cannot afford more charter schools. In addition, the city's pension assessment will grow by approximately $1 million, with a pension liability that today is only 43% funded. This number will continue to grow in the coming years. Spending in our schools will increase some 6% or $7.7 million, but it is supported by a significant boost in state aid as a result of a recounting of English language learners in our schools, and the superintendent and her team deserve a lot of credit for making that happen. It has resulted in millions of dollars more in state aid to our schools. While the school budget is set at the state-mandated net school spending level and certain areas still need more support, we were able to fund important areas that will accelerate the reform effort, including the expansion of instructional technology, the addition of 12 new ELL teachers, and the reestablishment of full-day Fridays in elementary schools. It should also be noted that the FY17 budget benefited from a range of efficiency initiatives that we have implemented over the last 4 years, and we've talked a lot about these. All of these help restrain spending, ensure accountability, and have improved transparency throughout city government. The list is long, but they prominently include the citywide performance measurement initiative, the city's solar energy program, voice over internet protocol service, payroll modernization, targeted reorganization of city government, and the list goes on and on. This year, we will build on these successes by doing even more, by reorganizing, for instance, the city's refuse enforcement function, consolidating electrical repairs, and providing necessary support to the city's long-range planning activities. A primary theme of the FY17 budget is the city's movement towards sustainability. The goal is to enable the city to provide first-rate services, the first-rate services that our residents expect and deserve, while easing the demands on taxpayers, residents and businesses alike, by restraining spending and growing the tax base over time. Getting to this point will require all of us to think beyond the current budget cycle, anticipate challenges, and plan well. And now there are a few clouds on the horizon that I believe need some closer attention. Among the more ominous challenges we face is the looming liability associated with retiree health care. Although the most recent actuarial evaluation report showed that our reforms in health care resulted in a remarkable 25% reduction of the long-term OPEB liability, the unfunded liability nevertheless remains daunting, standing today at $424 million. The City Council's establishment of an OPEB trust in 2015 allowed us to provide a modest initial commitment to reducing this figure and a mechanism by which we can make further commitments. However, further action will be required on the part of the bargaining units to achieve meaningful reform to bring post-retiree benefits costs to a manageable level and to ensure that the health benefits will be available to employees upon their retirement. The city also must remain prepared for the unexpected. My administration has been committed to establishing and maintaining a robust stabilization fund, increasing the fund's balances by 75% since 2001, and the City Council, for its part, has been fully engaged in adopting a strong reserve policy, and there's a lot to be said for that. We are continuing to make efforts to ensure that the city is able to utilize the strengthening economy to improve our overall financial position when the growth in the job market translates into increased tax revenue growth. The development of the budget this year has been greatly aided by the early and continuous engagement of the City Council, which entailed a series of discussions made possible in part by the Council's establishment of an ad hoc budget review committee. I believe that this effort has been a positive development for the city, and I look forward to continuing the partnership in the weeks ahead. I wish to thank the Council for the energy and thoughtfulness it brought to the process, which has yielded, I believe, a better, more refined budget proposal for your review. The key for us now is to understand that the rebuilding of our city is taking shape. It really is. You can see it, you can hear it, it is real. Together, we're making the right moves, but it will take time and may require some more sacrifices along the way. We are clearly on a healthier, more sustainable path that will lead to a more effective and responsive city government and a higher quality of life for our residents. Thank you for your consideration. I look forward to working with you in the weeks ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Mitchell. Colleagues, I believe that your budget is being delivered as we speak. We have some items before us that we need to take action on. Have the clerk read item 2.
Madam President, item 2 is an order appropriating $296,760,682 from ordinary revenue and municipal receipts of fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2016 and ending June 30th, 2017 for payment of current expenses of various municipal departments.
Motion to refer to the quasi-committee of the whole.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Bousquet to refer to the quasi-committee on the whole, second by Councilor Carney. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 3 is before you.
Madam President, item 3 is an order appropriating $792,037 in 12 equal monthly increments from airport receipts of FY17 in the airport budget.
Colleagues,
Motion to refer to the quasi-committee of the whole.
same course of action made by Councilor Bousquet, second by Councilor Abreu. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 4 is before you.
Madam President, item 4 is an order appropriating $21,254,190 in 12 equal monthly increments from wastewater receipts of FY17 in the DPI wastewater budget.
Motion to refer to the quasi committee of the whole.
Same course of action made by Counsel Bousquet, second by Counsel Carney. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 5 is before us.
Madam President, item 5 is an order appropriating $11,974,911 in 12 equal monthly increments from water receipts in FY17 in the DPI water budget.
Motion to refer to the quasi committee of the whole.
Same course of action made by Counsel Bousquet, second by Counsel Winterson. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 6 is before you.
Madam President, item 6 is an order appropriating $1,021,900 in 12 equal monthly increments from the enterprise fund and receipts of FY17 in the downtown parking account.
Be referred to the quasi committee of the whole.
Same course of action made by Counsellor Bousquet, second by Counsellor Winterson. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Finally, item 7 is before you.
Madam President, item 7 is an order appropriating $15,000 now standing to the credit of the account of CCDA traffic handicap parking as follows: $0 to Commission for Citizens with Disabilities and Salaries and Wages, $15,000 to Commission for Citizens with Disabilities Charges and Services, and $0 to Commission for Citizens with Disabilities Supplement Supplies and Materials.
Motion to refer to the quasi committee of the whole.
Same course of action made by Counsel Bousquet, second by Counsel Carney. Any discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn, on behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to thank the department heads that came tonight. We appreciate you coming. We're looking forward to working with you over the course of the next couple of weeks. We will publish the budget schedule tomorrow so that there'll be plenty of time for preparation and everyone to be aware. Thank you all for coming. Motion to adjourn would be made by Counsel Bousquet, Counsel Martin, second by Counsel Abreu. And any discussion on that item? We stand adjourned. 7:28 p.m.
Thank you, Madam President.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
Mom?
Yes?
I've been thinking about it, and I'm not gonna go to college.
What are you saying? You've got to go to college.
Well, they offered me a job, and I want to buy some new stuff, like a new phone, a car.
Son, college is much more important than a new car.
No, Mom, it isn't.
Yes, son, it is.
No.
Yes.
No, Mom. Anyways, it's my decision.
Your decision. Okay, well then decide what degree you're going to get because you will go to college.
Their tomorrow depends on your words today. The Hispanic Scholarship Fund has the information you need to help your kids go to college and have a better future.